Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you all today. We're about to explore an important topic, the Bodoland University Bed Entrance Test for 2025. Along with that, we'll also look into Indian educational policies that shape our learning landscape. Over the course of this presentation, we'll cover key details about the entrance exam, the admission process, and how national policies influence education in our country. So, let's get started and dive into this informative journey together. So, when we talk about the primary challenges facing the quality of education in India today, one key issue that often comes up is the lack of sufficient school buildings, especially in urban areas. This means many children may not even have a proper place to learn, which directly impacts the quality of education they receive. Another point worth noting is the focus on vocational training in primary schools. While vocational skills are important, an excessive emphasis at such an early stage can sometimes divert attention from foundational learning. Then, there's the overemphasis on rote learning and memorization. This approach tends to prioritize memorization over understanding, which can limit students' critical thinking and problem-solving abilities, skills that are crucial in today's world. Lastly, although high student-teacher ratios in private schools are a concern, they are not usually considered the primary challenge when it comes to overall education quality across the country. Connecting this to our broader discussion, addressing these core issues, especially the over-reliance on rote learning, can significantly improve the quality of education and better prepare students for the future. Let's talk about one of the common pitfalls in traditional learning: overemphasis on rote learning and memorization. When we focus too much on memorizing facts without really understanding the underlying concepts, we miss out on developing critical thinking skills. This approach often leads to learning that is boring and less effective over time because students are just repeating information rather than truly grasping it. It can also limit problem-solving abilities, which are essential in real-world situations. Overall, while memorization has its place, relying on it too heavily can hinder genuine learning and growth. This point ties back to the broader theme of innovative teaching methods that promote deeper understanding and active engagement. So, when we talk about the digital divide in Indian education, what are we really referring to? Well, the most prominent aspect is the unequal access to technology and the internet for educational purposes. This means that some students have the necessary devices and reliable connectivity to learn online, while others are left out due to lack of resources. This gap significantly impacts learning opportunities and outcomes, especially as more parts of education move online. Now, while digital literacy among teachers is also important, that's more about the difference in skills and familiarity with digital tools. Similarly, access to digital entertainment varies, but it's less relevant when we're focusing on education itself. And then there's the infrastructure gap between urban and rural schools, which overlaps with access issues but is a broader challenge. Overall, the core point here is that the digital divide mainly refers to unequal access to technology and the internet, which directly affects how equitably students can participate in digital learning. This is a critical issue that we need to address to ensure inclusive education for all. Today, I want to talk about the digital divide, which essentially means the gap between those who have access to information and communication technologies, or ICTs, and those who don't. In the context of Indian education, this divide becomes quite significant. It directly impacts students' and schools' ability to use digital tools, devices, and internet connectivity for learning purposes. When some students have easy access to online resources and digital devices, others are left behind simply because they lack that access. This disparity creates unequal opportunities in education, which can affect long-term outcomes for students. Recognizing this divide is crucial as we work towards making education more equitable and inclusive for everyone. Now, moving on to slide 6 of 62, let's look at the key goal of the NEP 2020. The policy aims for a 100% gross enrollment ratio, or GER, across all levels of schooling, from preschool right up to secondary education. This is a significant milestone because it reflects the country's commitment to ensuring that every child has access to quality education. The question here is, by which year does the NEP 2020 aim to achieve this universal enrollment? The options are 2025, 2030, 2026, or 2027. It's important to understand that this target is part of a broader vision to improve educational access and equity. Achieving 100% GER means not just increasing numbers, but ensuring that no child is left behind, which is essential for the overall development and progress of our society. So, as you think about these options, remember that the NEP 2020 sets ambitious but vital goals to transform our education system within a specific timeframe. Let's take a closer look at the ambitious goals set out by the National Education Policy of 2020. One of its key objectives is to achieve a 100% gross enrollment ratio, or GER, across all levels of school education, starting from preschool all the way to secondary education, by the year 2030. This means that, ideally, every child in the age group for these levels should be enrolled in school. This is a significant target because it reflects the commitment to universal access to quality education. Achieving this will require not just increasing enrollment numbers, but also ensuring that the quality of education remains high and that no child is left behind. Connecting this to our overall theme, it highlights the importance of inclusive and equitable learning opportunities for all children, which is foundational for building a knowledgeable and skilled society in the future. The NEP 2020 vision is truly about making education accessible, equitable, and of high quality for every child in the country. So let's talk about the new curricular and pedagogical structure proposed by NEP 2020 for school education. This is a fundamental shift intended to make learning more holistic, flexible, and aligned with the developmental stages of students. The structure is represented by a sequence of numbers, and these numbers correspond to the years or stages in the school system. Now, the options listed are A5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3, B5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, C4 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2, and D10 plus 2 plus 3. The correct answer, as per NEP 2020, is the first option, 5 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3. This means that the school education system is now divided into 4 stages: a 5-year foundational stage, a 3-year preparatory stage, a 4-year middle stage, and a 3-year secondary stage. This structure aims to provide a more seamless and integrated learning experience, emphasizing foundational literacy and numeracy, critical thinking, and holistic development. This shift is significant because it moves away from a rigid, examination-centric model towards a more flexible, learner-centered approach. It also aligns education more closely with the holistic development of children, preparing them better for future challenges. This structure is a key part of the broader reforms aimed at transforming school education in India, making it more relevant and accessible. The NEP 2020 proposes a school structure called B5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, which is designed to be more flexible and student-centered. It starts with a 5-year foundational stage, covering preschool to grade 2, focusing on early development and foundational skills. Next is the 3-year preparatory stage, which includes grades 3 to 5, where children continue building on their foundational knowledge. Then we have the 3-year middle stage, from grades 6 to 8, focusing on deeper learning and critical thinking. Finally, there's a 4-year secondary stage, covering grades 9 to 12, preparing students for higher education or careers. This structure emphasizes flexibility, meaning schools can adapt to students' needs and holistic learning, which aims to develop not just academic skills, but also social, emotional, and life skills. Overall, it's a shift towards a more rounded education that prepares students better for the future. So let's look at the key question on this slide. Under NEP 2020, what will be the minimum degree qualification required for teaching by the year 2030? This is a crucial point because it reflects the direction India's education policy is heading towards. The options listed are fourfold. First, a 4-year integrated BEd. Second, a 2-year DED. Third, a a postgraduate degree in any subject, and finally, a 1-year BEd. Now, the correct answer here is the 4-year integrated BEd, which signifies a shift towards higher standards and a more comprehensive preparation for future educators. This change aims to elevate the quality of teaching and ensure that teachers are well equipped to meet the evolving educational needs. Understanding this transition is important because it aligns with NEP's overarching goal of improving overall education quality and making India a global knowledge hub. So, by 2030, the minimum qualification for teachers will be this 4-year integrated program, reinforcing the importance of a strong, unified foundation for educators across the country. Under NEP 2020, the minimum degree qualification for teaching by 2030 will be a 4-year integrated BEd. This is a significant shift aimed at elevating the standards of teacher education across the country. The policy emphasizes the importance of a comprehensive and holistic approach to preparing teachers, one that combines pedagogical studies with subject-specific knowledge. What this means is that future teachers will undergo a more integrated training program, ensuring they are well-versed not only in teaching methods, but also in their chosen subject areas from the very beginning. While other BEd programs, such as 1-year or 2-year courses, may still be available for those who already hold degrees, the 4-year integrated BEd is set to become the standard minimum qualification. This change aligns with the overall goal of improving quality in education by fostering well-rounded, highly qualified teachers who are better prepared to meet the diverse needs of students. It's all about creating a stronger foundation for our education system as we move forward. So let's look at the primary objective of the National Educational Technology Forum, or NETF, as proposed in NEP 2020. Now, this forum is really about fostering a space for dialogue and collaboration around technology in education. It aims to facilitate the exchange of ideas on how we can effectively use technology for learning and assessment purposes. This is crucial because integrating technology thoughtfully can transform the way students learn and how educators evaluate progress. It's important to note that this goal aligns with the overall theme of NEP 2020, which emphasizes quality, innovation, and inclusivity in education through technology. Now, looking at the options here, the correct answer is C. It's all about promoting the exchange of ideas on technology for learning and assessment. The other options, like providing free laptops or financial aid, are important initiatives, but are not the primary focus of the NETF. Instead, the forum serves as a platform for collaboration and idea sharing among educators, policymakers, and technologists. So, in essence, the main goal of the NETF is to create a vibrant ecosystem where innovative uses of technology in education can be discussed, refined, and implemented to benefit learners across the country. The primary objective of the National Educational Technology Forum, or NETF, as proposed in the NEP 2020, is to facilitate the exchange of ideas. Specifically, it aims to promote conversations around how technology can be effectively used for learning and assessment. This means creating a space where educators, students, and policymakers can come together to share insights, innovations, and best practices. By doing so, the NETF helps us stay at the forefront of educational technology, ensuring that our approaches to teaching and evaluation are innovative and effective. Ultimately, this aligns with the broader goal of transforming education through technology, making learning more accessible, engaging, and impactful for everyone involved. So on this slide, we're talking about the Academic Bank of Credits, or ABC, which was introduced as part of the National Education Policy of 2020. Its main goal is to modernize how we handle academic records and progress. Now, what exactly does it do? Well, it primarily aims to store and transfer academic credits digitally across different higher education institutions. This is a game changer because it allows students to move seamlessly from one university to another, carrying their credits with them, instead of starting over each time. It's important to note what ABC does not do. It doesn't provide loans to students, nor does it regulate fees charged by private universities, nor conduct entrance exams. Instead, its focus is on creating a unified digital platform that manages academic credits efficiently. This initiative ties into the overall theme of enhancing flexibility and mobility in higher education, making it easier for students to pursue their academic goals across various institutions without losing their progress. It's all about creating a more integrated and student-centric education system. Let's take a closer look at the Academic Bank of Credits, or ABC, which was introduced in NEP 2020. Its main goal is to create a seamless system for storing and transferring academic credits digitally across different higher education institutions. Think of it as a digital backpack where all your earned credits are stored safely. This means that students will be able to carry their credits with them as they move from one college or university to another, making credit transfer much easier and more transparent. The ABC acts as a centralized digital repository, holding the academic records of students from various HEIs. This not only simplifies credit management, but also encourages a more flexible and personalized approach to higher education. Overall, this aligns perfectly with the broader theme of modernizing our education system and making it more student-centric and efficient. So let's talk about the primary objective behind emphasizing foundational literacy and numeracy, or FLN, in NEP 2020. This focus is really about making sure that all students, by the time they reach grade 3, are able to read, write, and do basic arithmetic confidently. It's not about learning foreign languages early or introducing vocational skills at this stage, nor is it mainly about competitive exams. The core idea is to build a strong foundation in these essential skills so students can move forward in their education with confidence. This emphasis helps ensure that no child is left behind and that every student has the basic skills needed for future learning. It ties into the overall goal of improving the quality of education from the very beginning. The main goal behind emphasizing foundational literacy and numeracy, or FLN, in NEP 2020 is to make sure that all students develop essential reading, writing, and arithmetic skills by the time they reach grade 3. This is really about establishing a strong foundation early on, because these basic skills are the building blocks for everything that follows in a child's learning journey. When we talk about universal basic skills, we mean that every student should have these core competencies, reading, writing, and math, by grade 3, which is a critical age to address any learning gaps. Achieving this ensures that no child is left behind right from the start. It's important because mastering FLN isn't just about those skills in isolation. It's about creating a solid base for future learning. When children have a good grasp of these fundamentals, they're better equipped to understand and succeed in other subjects later on. Conversely, if they fall behind at this stage, it can be challenging for them to catch up later, which can affect their overall educational trajectory. So, the emphasis on FLN in NEP 2020 is not just a standalone goal. It's a crucial step towards ensuring equitable, effective education for all children, setting them up for a lifetime of learning and growth. All right, let's look at a key piece of legislation that has had a significant impact on our education system, the Right to Education Act. Now, can anyone recall the year it was passed? Was it 2010, 2012, 2005, or 2009? This act was a major step forward in ensuring that every child in India has access to free and compulsory education from the age of 6 to 14. It's part of our broader effort to promote inclusive education and reduce disparities. So, the correct answer here is 2009. Remembering this date is important because it marks a milestone in our journey toward making education a fundamental right for all children. The Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act, commonly known as the RTE Act, was passed by the Parliament of India in 2009. This was a significant milestone in ensuring educational rights for all children. It received presidential assent on August 26, 2009, which is the formal approval needed for a bill to become law. Following this, the act officially came into force on April 1, 2010, marking the start of its implementation. This law is a crucial part of our broader theme of educational equity, as it aims to make quality education accessible and compulsory for every child in the country. Let's take a closer look at the Indian Constitution and the rights it guarantees to children. Specifically, which article makes education a fundamental right for children between 6 and 14 years old? The correct answer here is Article 21A. This article was added to emphasize the importance of education and ensure that every child in this age group has access to free and compulsory education. It really highlights how education is viewed as a vital part of a child's development and a fundamental right. This connects directly to our overall theme of understanding the rights and responsibilities embedded in the Constitution, especially those that shape our society's future, our children. So remember, Article 21A is the key article that enshrines the right to education for children between 6 and 14 years old. The correct answer here is C, Article 21A, which was introduced through the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002. This article is a significant addition because it explicitly states that the state has a constitutional obligation to provide free and compulsory education. Specifically, it covers all children between the ages of 6 and 14 years. The language is quite deliberate, saying that the manner in which this education is provided will be determined by law, giving the government flexibility to implement it effectively. This amendment really emphasizes the importance of education as a fundamental right, aligning with the broader theme of ensuring social justice and equality through constitutional safeguards. It marks a major step forward in making education accessible to all children, regardless of their background. Now, let's move on to an important aspect of the RTE Act related to private unaided schools. Under this law, a certain percentage of seats are reserved specifically for students from economically weaker sections, or EWS, and disadvantaged groups, or DG. This reservation aims to promote inclusivity and ensure that children from marginalized backgrounds have access to quality education. The key question here is, what percentage of seats are reserved for these groups in private unaided schools for admission to Class 1? The options are 15%, 20%, 30%, or 25%. Understanding this percentage is crucial because it reflects the commitment of the law to social equity in education. So, as we think about this, remember that the correct answer is 25%. This means that 1/4 of the seats in these schools are reserved for children from EWS and DG, helping to bridge the gap and promote equal opportunities for all children, regardless of their economic background. Under the RTE Act, a key provision is that 25% of the seats in private unaided schools are reserved for certain groups. Specifically, these seats are set aside for economically weaker sections, or EWS, and disadvantaged groups, or DG. This reservation applies for admission to Class 1 or pre-primary if the school offers it. The main goal here is to promote inclusion and ensure that children from less privileged backgrounds have access to quality education from the very start. This initiative is a significant step towards making education more equitable and bridging social gaps. So, when we talk about the overall theme of the RTE Act, this reservation policy plays a crucial role in creating opportunities for all children, regardless of their economic or social background. Now, let's move on to slide 24. Here, we're focusing on Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or SSA. This was a major initiative launched with the ambitious goal of achieving universalization of elementary education, which is often abbreviated as UEE. The question here is, by which year was this goal set to be achieved? The options are 2005, 2010, 2009, or 1992. It's important to remember that SSA was a comprehensive program aimed at ensuring that every child in India has access to quality elementary education. The key point is that this initiative marked a significant step towards making education universally accessible across the country. So, as you think about these dates, keep in mind the broader context of India's efforts to improve literacy and educational access for all children. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or SSA, was launched with a clear and ambitious goal in mind: achieving the universalization of elementary education, which we often refer to as UEE, by the year 2010. Although the program officially began in 2001, its initial objectives were very specific and time-bound. The primary aim was to ensure that all children within the age group of 6 to 14 years could access and complete elementary education by 2010. This initiative marked a significant step toward making education accessible to every child, and it laid a strong foundation for the broader goal of universal education across the country. Throughout this presentation, we'll see how SSA played a crucial role in transforming the landscape of elementary education in India. So let's take a closer look at this question about Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or SSA. The question asks us to identify which of these options was not a key component or objective of the program. First, option A involves recruitment and training of elementary school teachers, which was definitely a major focus of SSA to improve the quality of education. Next, option B talks about constructing new school buildings, another critical part of expanding access to education, especially in underserved areas. Moving on, option D highlights the focus on girls' education through initiatives like NPEGEL, which aim to encourage and support girls to attend school and reduce gender disparities. Now, the one that stands out as not fitting into SSA's core objectives is option C, providing free higher education to all students. That was not part of SSA's mandate, since the scheme primarily targeted elementary education and foundational learning for children. So, the correct answer here is C. Providing free higher education was not a key component of SSA. The correct answer is C. Providing free higher education to all students. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or SSA, was India's flagship program aimed specifically at achieving universal elementary education. This means making sure every child aged 6 to 14 has access to quality schooling. It's a crucial step toward building an inclusive and equitable education system. While SSA focuses on elementary education, it highlights the importance of making education accessible for all, which ties into the broader theme of social development and equal opportunities. So remember, SSA was all about ensuring no child is left behind at the elementary level. Let's take a look at slide 28. The question here is about the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, or RMSA, and which level of education it primarily focuses on. Now, RMSA is a significant initiative aimed at improving education in India, but the key thing to remember is which stage of schooling it targets. Is it higher education, secondary education, preschool education, or elementary education? As we discuss this, keep in mind how RMSA fits into the broader goal of enhancing access and quality at different levels of our education system. The correct answer here is secondary education, because RMSA specifically aims to enhance the quality and infrastructure of schools providing education from grades 9 to 12. This focus helps prepare students better for higher education and the workforce. So, understanding this focus helps us see how different schemes target different stages in our education life cycle, aligning with the overall goal of comprehensive educational development across the country. Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, or RMSA, is primarily focused on secondary education. It was launched in March 2009 with a clear goal in mind. The main objective was to enhance access to secondary education across the country and to improve its overall quality. This initiative aims to ensure that more students, especially in rural and underserved areas, can attend secondary school and receive a good education. By doing so, RMSA plays a crucial role in strengthening the foundation for higher education and skill development. It aligns with the broader theme of educational development and equitable access, ensuring that no child is left behind at the secondary level. So let's take a closer look at some of the major issues relating to teachers in the Indian education system. One of the key challenges we face is the shortage of qualified and trained teachers. Despite the large number of teachers across the country, many are not adequately trained to meet the diverse needs of students. This impacts the quality of education significantly. Now, to clarify the other options, there isn't an overabundance of highly specialized teachers in all subjects. Rather, the problem is often the opposite. And mandatory private tuition by government school teachers is not an official policy, but can sometimes be a concern due to the demand for additional income. As for focusing excessively on extracurricular activities, while these are important, they are not the main issue when it comes to teacher-related challenges. Overall, the core issue we need to address is the shortage of qualified and trained teachers, which directly affects the quality and equity of education across India. The correct answer here is D, which is the shortage of qualified and trained teachers. This issue really underpins many of the challenges we see in education today. For example, a poor student-teacher ratio can mean that teachers are overwhelmed and unable to give each student the attention they need. When staffing is underqualified, it affects the quality of instruction and student engagement. We also see an uneven distribution of teachers, especially in rural areas, which creates disparities in access to quality education. All of these factors directly impact learning outcomes because students aren't getting the support they need to succeed. Additionally, there's often inadequate training and professional development for teachers, which limits their ability to adapt and improve their teaching methods. So, addressing the shortage of qualified and trained teachers is crucial because it touches on almost every aspect of improving education quality overall. So, let's focus on the key objectives of RMSA regarding access to secondary education. The main goal was to ensure that every student, no matter where they live, has the opportunity to attend secondary school without traveling excessively. This is crucial because access is a major barrier in many regions. Among the options, the most important concept was making sure that a secondary school is within a reasonable distance of any habitation. This helps to promote equitable access and reduces dropout rates due to logistical challenges. While technology and district coverage are important, the primary aim here was to bring secondary education closer to all communities, ensuring that no child is left behind simply because of their location. This aligns with the broader objective of increasing enrollment and improving educational equity across the country. A key objective of RMSA regarding access to secondary education was to ensure that every student has a secondary school within a reasonable distance from their home. The idea here is to make education accessible without requiring long, difficult journeys. This meant not only upgrading existing schools, but also establishing new ones in areas where there were none, to effectively reduce geographical barriers. By doing so, RMSA aimed to make secondary education more reachable for all children, helping us move closer to universal access and ensuring no student is left behind just because of where they live. This objective ties into the overall goal of expanding educational opportunities and making secondary education truly accessible to everyone. Now, moving on to slide 34, let's talk about some of the key education schemes in India. You might recall that Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or SSA, was a major initiative aimed at universalizing elementary education. Similarly, the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, or RMSA, focused on improving secondary education across the country. There were also teacher education schemes designed to enhance the quality of teaching. However, these separate schemes were later brought together under a single, comprehensive scheme to streamline efforts and ensure better coordination. The question here is, under which scheme were SSA, RMSA, and teacher education programs unified? The correct answer is the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. This initiative aims to integrate school education from elementary to senior secondary levels under one umbrella, making the entire education system more cohesive and effective. This move aligns with the overall goal of the presentation, improving access, quality, and equity in education across India. By consolidating these schemes, the government aims to create a more holistic approach to school education, which is essential for the nation's development. The correct answer is D. Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. This is an important program because it represents a comprehensive approach to school education in India. It integrates various schemes related to school education from elementary to secondary level, aiming for a more cohesive and effective system. By choosing this option, we recognize the government's efforts to improve access, equity, and quality in education across all levels. It's a key example of how policy initiatives are designed to bring about systemic change and better learning outcomes. So, when we look at the overall theme of education reform, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan stands out as a major step forward. So, let's think about the challenges faced by Indian education and how certain initiatives aim to address them. One such initiative is the midday meal scheme. Now, which challenge do you think this scheme primarily tackles? Is it the high dropout rates and poor nutritional levels, or perhaps the lack of qualified teachers? Maybe it's overemphasis on theoretical knowledge or insufficient digital infrastructure. Well, the correct answer is A. The midday meal scheme mainly targets high dropout rates and poor nutritional levels among students. By providing nutritious meals, it encourages children to attend school regularly and helps improve their health. This connects to our broader theme of how innovative programs can make a significant difference in educational outcomes. The midday meal scheme primarily addresses high dropout rates and poor nutritional levels among children. Its main goal is to improve the nutritional status of children in elementary education, ensuring they receive the essential nutrients needed for healthy growth and development. Additionally, it encourages children from economically disadvantaged backgrounds, who often miss school to help their families, to attend school more regularly. By doing so, it helps them continue their education and build a better future. This scheme is a vital part of our broader effort to promote education and health equity, making sure no child is left behind due to hunger or lack of resources. Now let's look at slide 38, which discusses the NEP 2020 and its approach to regulation in higher education. The policy advocates for a light but tight regulatory system. When we say light, what does that primarily refer to? Well, it means making the regulations less burdensome and more flexible for institutions, allowing them to operate more freely while still maintaining quality. This doesn't mean relaxing standards or reducing academic rigor, but rather streamlining oversight to avoid unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles. The key idea is to have fewer regulatory bodies and grant greater autonomy to institutions, enabling them to innovate and adapt to changing educational needs. So, among the options, the most accurate is that light primarily refers to fewer regulatory bodies and greater autonomy for institutions. This approach aims to balance accountability with flexibility, which is vital for fostering a vibrant and dynamic higher education system aligned with the overall goals of the NEP 2020. The answer is D, fewer regulatory bodies and greater autonomy for institutions. When we talk about the light aspect, we're referring to reducing fragmentation in the regulatory landscape. Instead of having multiple regulators like UGC, AICTE, and NCTE, the idea is to move towards a single, overarching Higher Education Commission of India, or HECI. This HECI would have different verticals dedicated to specific functions such as regulation, accreditation, and funding, which helps streamline oversight and reduce overlaps. On the other hand, the greater autonomy aspect focuses on giving higher education institutions more freedom in their academic, administrative, and financial decisions. This means less micromanagement and more trust in their ability to manage themselves effectively. A key part of this is gradually phasing out the traditional affiliation system, allowing institutions to operate more independently over time. However, it's important to remember that this increased freedom isn't without checks. The system still maintains strong oversight on critical issues like financial integrity, good governance, and quality standards. Transparency and public disclosure are essential to ensure accountability. So overall, this approach aims to create a more efficient, autonomous, yet responsibly governed higher education system, aligning with the broader goal of making India's higher education more dynamic and responsive. So let's talk about the recommended public investment in education as a percentage of GDP, as reiterated in the NEP 2020. This is a crucial point because it reflects the government's commitment to prioritizing education and ensuring adequate funding. The target set forth in the NEP 2020 is to allocate around 6% of the country's GDP to education. This figure is significant because it aims to boost the quality and reach of our education system, making it more inclusive and effective. Understanding this percentage helps us grasp the scale of investment needed to transform education in our country. It also highlights the importance of sustained and increased funding to meet future educational goals. So, when we look at the options, the correct answer is A, 6% of GDP. This benchmark is central to our broader discussion on strengthening education and driving national development. The correct answer here is 6% of GDP. This figure is significant because it highlights the proportion of the country's gross domestic product that is allocated to this specific area. When we talk about percentages of GDP, we're essentially measuring how much of the country's overall economic output is being dedicated to this purpose. It helps us understand the scale and impact relative to the entire economy. Recognizing that this is 6% gives us a clearer picture of the priority or resource commitment involved. Throughout this presentation, we've been examining how different sectors and policies allocate resources, and this figure is a key piece of that puzzle. It shows a moderate but notable level of investment or expenditure relative to the entire economy, which can influence policy decisions and strategic planning moving forward. So, let's talk about a significant change proposed in the NEP 2020 regarding the regulation of higher education. The question here is, which body is envisioned as the single overarching umbrella organization to replace the multiple existing regulators? This is a crucial point because it aims to streamline and unify the governance of higher education in India. The correct answer is the Higher Education Commission of India, or HECI. This new body is proposed to oversee the entire higher education landscape, bringing coherence and a more coordinated approach. It replaces other bodies like the UGC, AICTE, and NAAC, which currently handle different aspects of regulation, accreditation, and funding. The idea is to create a more flexible, transparent, and accountable system that better meets the needs of students and institutions alike. So, this shift to HECI is a key step towards transforming higher education into a more dynamic and future-ready sector. So, in NEP 2020, there's a significant proposal to streamline higher education regulation in India. The idea is to replace multiple existing regulators, like the UGC and AICTE, with a single overarching body. This new body is called the Higher Education Commission of India, or HECI. The main goal here is to create a more unified and efficient regulatory framework. By consolidating these regulators into one, the NEP aims to reduce overlaps, improve coordination, and ensure that policies are more coherent across the higher education landscape. This change is a key step in the broader effort to elevate the quality and accessibility of higher education in India, aligning with the overall theme of modernization and reform. So, let's explore the significance of multiple entry and exit options in higher education as outlined in NEP 2020. Essentially, this concept allows students the flexibility to pause their studies when needed and then return without losing their credits. It's like creating a more adaptable learning journey, recognizing that sometimes life circumstances require a break. This approach encourages ongoing engagement with education, rather than a rigid, linear path. It also supports lifelong learning, making higher education more accessible and accommodating to diverse student needs. Remember, this isn't about switching universities every year or only offering online courses, but rather about providing students with the freedom to enter and exit the system smoothly, ensuring that their efforts are recognized and their progress is preserved. This flexibility ultimately helps in building a more inclusive and resilient education system, aligned with the overall vision of NEP 2020. It enables students to take a break from their studies and return without losing credits. This kind of flexibility is really important because life can be unpredictable, and sometimes students need to pause their education for various reasons. What's great is that they can do this and still keep their progress. This system allows students to earn different certifications along the way, such as a certificate after 1 year, a diploma after 2 years, or even a bachelor's degree after 3 years. There's also the option for a 4-year bachelor's with research, which provides even more specialization. And when students are ready to come back, they can rejoin their studies and pick up right where they left off. Their academic credits are stored securely in the Academic Bank of Credits, or ABC. This means their progress is preserved, making the transition back seamless. Overall, this approach supports various life situations, whether someone needs time off for personal reasons or work opportunities. It really promotes lifelong learning by making education more flexible and accessible for everyone. Now, let's look at what the NEP 2020 suggests regarding curriculum content. It emphasizes reducing the curriculum to its core essentials. The key question here is, what is the primary reason for this change? Option A suggests encouraging rote learning and memorization, but that's actually contrary to the NEP's goals. It aims to move away from rote memorization towards more meaningful learning. Option C talks about making textbooks shorter and cheaper, which is a practical benefit, but not the core reason behind reducing curriculum content. Option D mentions reducing the burden on teachers, which is important, but again, it's not the main reason the NEP recommends this reduction. The correct answer is B, to allow for more experiential learning and critical thinking. By focusing on core essentials, students can engage more deeply with concepts, explore them through activities, and develop their critical thinking skills. This approach aligns with the overall theme of the NEP 2020, which is about transforming education from rote memorization to a more holistic, skill-based, and student-centered learning process. The primary reason for the NEP 2020 suggesting a reduction in curriculum content to its core essentials is to create space for more experiential learning and critical thinking. What this means is that instead of focusing solely on memorizing facts, the goal is to encourage students to engage with the material more deeply. The policy wants to move away from rote memorization, which often results in surface-level understanding, and instead promote a more holistic approach to education. This approach emphasizes inquiry, discovery, discussion, and analysis. By trimming down the volume of content, teachers and students have more time to explore ideas, ask questions, and develop a real understanding of the subject matter. It's about making learning more meaningful and practical, preparing students not just to recall information, but to think critically and apply their knowledge in real-world situations. So, in essence, the policy aims to shift the focus from just covering a large syllabus to fostering deeper engagement and critical skills, which is so vital in today's fast-changing world. All right, let's look at this question about the proposed Higher Education Commission of India, or HECI, as outlined in NEP 2020. The question asks us to identify which of these options is not one of the 4 independent verticals of HECI. Now, as we know, HECI was designed to streamline and coordinate higher education regulation and funding through 4 key verticals. These verticals are meant to cover different aspects of higher education governance. Option A is the National Higher Education Regulatory Council, or NHERC, which is indeed one of the verticals responsible for regulation. Option C, the Higher Education Grants Council, or HEGC, is focused on funding and grants, so it also fits into the structure. Option D, the General Education Council, or GEC, is the vertical responsible for curriculum and academic standards, making it a crucial part of HECI. Now, looking at option B, the Medical Council of India, or MCI, this is where the trick lies. MCI has traditionally been a separate statutory body overseeing medical education, but it is not listed as one of the 4 verticals of HECI. Instead, medical education regulation remains somewhat separate due to its specialized nature. So, in this context, MCI is the correct answer because it is not one of the 4 independent verticals of HECI. Connecting this to our overall theme, understanding how HECI is structured helps us see the shift towards a more integrated and streamlined approach in higher education governance, except for specialized areas like medical education, which might still be governed separately. The correct answer is B, the Medical Council of India, or MCI. This is the key organization responsible for overseeing medical education and practice in India. It plays a crucial role in setting standards, accrediting medical colleges, and ensuring quality in medical training. Throughout this presentation, we've been discussing the regulatory bodies that influence healthcare standards, and MCI is central to that in the Indian context. Recognizing MCI helps us understand how medical professionals are regulated and how the quality of medical education is maintained across the country. So, remember, when you see MCI, think of the organization that governs and upholds the integrity of medical practice in India. Let's take a closer look at what NEP 2020 recommends regarding multilingualism. It emphasizes the importance of promoting the use of multiple languages in education. Specifically, it suggests that students should be taught up to at least grade 5 in their home language, mother tongue, local language, or regional language. This approach helps nurture a strong linguistic foundation and cultural identity. Among the options, the key point is that the focus is on the child's first language, rather than just English or any foreign language. This promotes inclusive learning and better comprehension. So, when we look at the choices, the correct answer is option A, home language, mother tongue, local language, or regional language. This is a crucial step in making education more accessible and effective for all students. The correct answer is home language, mother tongue, local language, or regional language. NEP 2020 emphasizes the importance of teaching in the child's home or mother tongue up to grade 5. This approach significantly boosts learning comprehension and cognitive development, making it easier for children to grasp new concepts. Plus, it plays a vital role in actively preserving India's rich linguistic and cultural diversity. When children learn in their native language, they feel more connected and confident, which ultimately supports their overall educational growth. This is a crucial part of our broader goal to create an inclusive and culturally rich learning environment for all students. Now, let's look at how the new assessment system proposed in NEP 2020 is evolving. It shifts the focus away from traditional summative assessments, which are typically end-of-term exams, towards a more holistic and continuous approach. The goal here is to make assessments more regular, so they happen throughout the learning process, rather than just at the end. This way, students receive ongoing feedback that helps them improve. The emphasis is also on competency-based assessment, meaning we're measuring skills and understanding in real-life contexts, not just rote memorization. It's important to note that this approach encourages formative assessments, which are meant to guide learning rather than just grade it. This helps students identify their strengths and areas for improvement in real time. Now, looking at the options, the key idea is moving towards regular, formative, competency-based assessments, so option A is the correct one. The other options, like peer-to-peer grading, standardized tests for global comparison, or only annual board exams, don't align with this new, holistic approach. Instead, the focus is on continuous, formative evaluation that supports student growth throughout the year. This shift is a fundamental part of the overall theme of transforming our education system into a more student-centric and skill-oriented framework. Now, let's look at different types of assessments, starting with regular, formative, competency-based assessment. Traditionally, summative assessment has been the main approach, where we evaluate learning at the end of a period, like through annual exams. These often tend to focus on rote memorization, which isn't always the most effective way to truly understand or apply knowledge. In contrast, formative assessment is a more ongoing process. It happens during the learning journey, providing continuous feedback to both students and teachers. This helps us identify areas for improvement in real time and adapt teaching methods accordingly. Then there's competency-based assessment, which shifts the focus from just recalling facts to actually understanding and applying concepts and skills. It measures whether students can use what they've learned in practical situations, which is much more aligned with real-world needs. All of this ties into the broader goal of the NEP 2020, which aims to create a more holistic education system. It encourages critical thinking, emphasizes actual learning and development, and moves away from memorization as the sole measure of success. This way, we're preparing students not just to remember information, but to think, analyze, and apply their knowledge effectively. So let's take a closer look at what PARAKH stands for in the context of the NEP 2020. The full form of PARAKH is the Program for Academic Research and Holistic Knowledge. Now, this is a significant development because it emphasizes a comprehensive approach to assessment, not just focusing on rote memorization or exams. Instead, it aims to evaluate students in a way that captures their overall development, including skills, values, and understanding. When we consider the options, the second option, performance assessment, review, and analysis of knowledge for holistic development, really captures the essence of what PARAKH is about. It highlights not just assessing knowledge, but reviewing and analyzing performance in a way that promotes holistic growth. This ties into the broader theme of the NEP 2020, which is all about transforming our education system into one that nurtures well-rounded individuals. So, understanding what PARAKH stands for helps us see how assessment reforms are central to this vision. In summary, the correct full form is performance assessment, review, and analysis of knowledge for holistic development, reflecting the shift towards a more comprehensive, student-centered evaluation system. Let's take a closer look at the full form of PARAKH. It stands for Performance Assessment, Review, and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. This means that PARAKH is designed to evaluate not just academic performance, but also a student's overall growth. It's about assessing how well students are doing across various domains, including cognitive, social, and emotional development. The idea is to create a comprehensive picture of a student's progress, which can help tailor educational strategies to support their holistic development. This approach aligns perfectly with the broader goal of the presentation, which is to promote a well-rounded education that prepares students for all aspects of life. So let's talk about the NEP 2020 and its approach to vocational education. One of the key recommendations is that vocational education should be integrated into the school curriculum right from an early stage. But at which grade does this integration start? Well, according to NEP 2020, the correct answer is grade 1. This means that from the very beginning of formal schooling, students will have exposure to vocational skills. The idea is to promote practical skills alongside academic learning, making education more holistic and aligned with real-world needs. This early exposure can help children discover their interests and talents, and also prepare them better for future careers. So, integrating vocational education from grade 1 underscores the importance NEP 2020 places on skill development from a young age, ensuring that education is not just about theory, but also about practical, hands-on learning. Today, I want to highlight an important aspect of NEP 2020, which is the recommendation to integrate vocational education starting from grade 6. This means that from an early age, students should be exposed to practical skills that are relevant to everyday life and future careers. Specifically, NEP 2020 suggests having a 10-day bagless period, or practical exposure, where students can engage directly with hands-on activities. The idea is to introduce them to a variety of skills such as carpentry, electric work, pottery, and gardening or farming. These are essential life skills that can foster creativity and problem-solving. In addition, students can learn about local crafts, which helps preserve cultural heritage and promote local industries. Digital literacy and coding basics are also emphasized, preparing students for the digital age. Skills like sewing, stitching, and cooking or culinary skills are included to develop practical, everyday competencies. Overall, the goal is to make education more holistic, blending academic knowledge with real-world skills from a young age. This approach not only prepares students for various career paths, but also encourages self-reliance and resourcefulness. So let's take a closer look at the primary focus of the foundational stage, which covers children from 3 to 8 years old, according to the NEP 2020 curricular structure. Now, The options here include preparation for competitive entrance exams, specialization in one academic stream, early childhood care and education with play-based learning, or none of the above. The key point here is that during this stage, the main emphasis is on fostering a strong foundation for young children through early childhood care and education, or ECCE. This period is all about nurturing curiosity, social skills, and cognitive development through engaging, play-based activities. It's not about preparing for exams or pushing kids into specific streams at this young age. Instead, the focus is on holistic development, ensuring children develop emotionally, socially, and physically in a joyful, supportive environment. This approach aligns with the overall theme of the NEP 2020, which emphasizes early childhood as a crucial phase that shapes future learning and growth. So the correct answer here is C, early childhood care and education with play-based learning. It's all about creating a nurturing space that promotes natural curiosity and foundational skills that will serve children well in their subsequent educational journey. Now, let's take a closer look at the foundational stage of the NEP 2020 curriculum, which covers children from ages 3 to 8. The primary focus during this stage is on early childhood care and education, or ECCE, with an emphasis on play-based learning. This means that at this crucial stage, we prioritize creating a nurturing environment where children learn through play and activities that are both engaging and developmentally appropriate. The goal here is to develop a well-rounded set of skills, cognitive skills, which help children understand and process information, socio-emotional skills, which are essential for building relationships and emotional regulation, ethical skills, laying the foundation for values and morality, and motor skills, both fine and gross motor abilities that support physical development. Additionally, early literacy and numeracy skills are introduced in a way that is fun and natural, usually through stories, songs, and hands-on activities. The key point is that all of this learning happens primarily through play and activity-based methods, making learning enjoyable and meaningful for young children. This approach aligns perfectly with the overall theme of the NEP, which is about nurturing holistic development in the earliest years, ensuring children are prepared not just academically, but also socially and emotionally for their future learning journeys. Now, moving on to slide 60, let's look at the NEP 2020 and its target for higher education. The goal here is to significantly increase the gross enrollment ratio, or GER, which essentially measures the percentage of students enrolled in higher education compared to the total age-appropriate population. NEP 2020 aims to raise this ratio to 50%. The question is, by which year do they plan to achieve this? Is it 2025, 2040, 2035, or 2030? This target reflects a strong push to expand access and improve quality in higher education, making it more inclusive and comprehensive. So, the correct answer is 2035, which indicates a clear timeline for the country's higher education development. This aligns with the broader theme of the NEP, which is about transforming our education system to meet future needs and opportunities. NEP 2020 aims to increase the gross enrollment ratio, or GER, in higher education to 50% by the year 2035. This is a significant goal because GER measures the percentage of the eligible age group that is enrolled in higher education. Achieving this target means making higher education more accessible to a larger portion of the population. It reflects a strong commitment to expanding opportunities and improving the quality of education across the country. By focusing on this, the policy aligns with the overall theme of transforming India's education system to be more inclusive, innovative, and future-ready. Ultimately, reaching a 50% GER will help us build a more skilled and competitive workforce for the future. All right, as we reach the final slide, I want to emphasize that the content here is still to be confirmed, which is why it's labeled TBC. But what's important to take away is that this space represents an opportunity for us to wrap up and reflect on the key themes we've discussed throughout the presentation. It's a chance to think about how all the pieces fit together, whether it's the strategies, the insights, or the goals we've outlined. Remember, the overall message is about continuous improvement and staying adaptable in a changing landscape. So, even as we finalize details, keep in mind the broader vision and how each element contributes to our success. Thank you for your attention and engagement throughout this presentation.